everyone, it's Heidi with Downtown NorCal Live. Today I'm outside at Redwood Nursery. We're going to meet Don Shore. He's the longtime owner. Hi, Don.
Hello there.
So what are the silver linings you've learned in COVID?
Well, garden centers and do-it-yourself stores and home improvement stores are one sector in retail that has actually gone up during this whole unfortunate, terrible, the dark clouds of the COVID-19 pandemic, that people are staying home. And at first they were vegetable gardening in a big way, and many of them started planting flowers and got interested in drawing hummingbirds and butterflies and realized they needed a shade tree. And so all the hardware stores and all of the garden centers in the region found very quickly that we were providing something people really needed. More than something people wanted, something people really needed at that point in the spring. And that has continued on into the summer. And now here in Davis, the students are back, and not all of them, but about 50% of the undergraduates and about 70% of the graduates. They're not going to classes so much, but they are here, and so they need something for their room. They need a house plant, they need a nice container, and so those sales have been good as well. So I feel really terrible for all the businesses in town that have just been eviscerated by this pandemic. There are a few here and there where we've actually seen increases in some categories especially.
How hard has it been for you to be able to supply the demand?
The supply chain issues have been dramatic. Back in the spring when this first jumped and everybody wanted vegetables all of a sudden, well, that's a crop. I mean, that's something that had been planted back in January or February, and then in April, everybody and their brother-in-law decided they wanted to plant a vegetable garden. So supplies were very short, and the growers could move as quickly as moved as quickly as they possibly could. First, vegetables were in short supply. Then, for 3 weeks, we couldn't get basil. We kind of like to joke about that. It was the toilet paper of the garden center industry. No basil available anywhere. Finally, they caught up on that. And I think for this fall, with the cool season vegetables coming in, the growers are actually prepared reasonably well. And good news is, all those people who started vegetable gardening this year, they're continuing to do so. So that part of it, we feel comfortable. Still some shortages of things like lawn food. Containers, awkward things where someone walks in wanting a pot for their nice house plant and say, well, I just did a pottery order and 60% of it got zeroed, but maybe 3 weeks from now we'll have some more. But that's been a minor issue.
Okay. And then in terms of your staff, have you staffed up or just working harder and longer?
Both. We were able to add staff as well as continue people, and I have to say they jumped right in when this whole thing hit, knowing what a disaster it was for most. We started doing deliveries in a way we never had before. We'd always done it as a minor thing. Suddenly in April, everything was being delivered. Every sale was basically a delivery. We were doing 10, 12, 15 deliveries a day. One day we did 20 deliveries in a single day. And we went ahead and took on Woodland because there is now no garden center in Woodland. They had closed up last June. And so we were delivering all over Davis and all over Woodland. And from the start, I made a decision to make it no charge for delivery and no minimum for delivery.
That's really nice. And then I wanted to ask you about education. Normally you can help schools out, but schools are closed. So what kinds of services might you offer to teachers? Or
Yeah, we've always donated to all the schools in a big way, and many of the schools here have had very active gardening programs. Obviously they're not doing that now. So if there's something a teacher wants to do through distance learning and wants to figure out a way to get vegetable seeds, flower seeds, plants to people, we can do that. We can work with that. We would always donate to the schools before. We'll figure out some way to do that, because that's really an important part of community service for any business here, is donating to the schools and helping teachers do those kinds of projects.
What are the plants behind you? We've got you posed here for a particular reason.
Well, these are kale, broccoli, more broccoli here, Swiss chard, lettuce, peas. These are all things we plant at this time of year. This is October. And from September, October, November, we plant the cool season vegetables. And that's all the leafy greens, all the what we call the brassicas, everything related to broccoli. And we start planting onions and garlic, which we have over there. All those things go in now all the way into November, and you're harvesting them through the winter and the spring. So people who are new to gardening, which is a lot of people this year, or people who are new to this area, may not realize we have an entire second gardening season here, not just for vegetables, but also for flowers. And right now it's the vegetables that are going hot and heavy for people, even though I think it's going to be 99 degrees today, but we're supposed to be in fall weather soon, perhaps by the time this is uploaded. And we're also beginning to bring in the pansies, violas, snapdragons, cyclamen, things that people plant for winter flowers as well.
You've got a greenhouse behind you. That's a story.
Yeah, that's we had that supply chain issue with all those vegetables, and we were getting so desperate. We actually bought a little pop-up greenhouse, and he started to start growing our own. I've been a retailer for all these years. I've always bought in everything we sold. This year we became growers in a small way, and one staff person comes in 1 day a week. She spends almost all day in that greenhouse starting seeds. We're doing rose cuttings as well, things like that, to fill in gaps in our inventory as best we can. I actually have 3 more of these at home, just so that I'm prepared in case the supply chain issues continue, that I can go ahead and jump in and start some basil to make sure we don't have a basil shortage again next spring. So it's been just like everybody else, scrambling to figure out how to meet the demand in this new situation.
Always adapting. You and I were talking about how it's an unhealthier day today, and it's smoky outside.
Yeah.
Planting with fire in mind in Davis.
Yeah.
What do you recommend?
Well, good news is that we're in an area where the kinds of fires we're reading about, these horrific fires that are happening up in the Coast Range and the mountains behind us, are not likely here because we're surrounded by irrigated agriculture. So first, good news, and I get this question a lot from people who are new to the area. They're reading about Vacaville or Fairfield being evacuated. Could it happen in Davis? We're unlikely to have that kind of a fire because we don't have the urban wildland interface. But one of the best resources I've found online, and I highly recommend this to anyone who's interested in the topic, is, interestingly, the California Native Plant Society, which put together a guide, a substantial guide, 2 years ago after the major Napa fires that occurred that year. And it gives you very good information, not just native plants. I mean, one of the things they'll tell you right there is native plants may not be appropriate near your house. You need an open, defensible space near the house. You may need to irrigate areas. You might go back to lawns in some cases. Despite the 5-year drought we went through, it may be appropriate to have turf in areas where you would have nearby flammable materials. So the good news is we're kind of safe. It's flat, it's boring, but it's irrigated agriculture, so that keeps the fire, the type of fire we're reading about, at bay, I guess you could say. And then there's some great resources out there for those of you who have relatives and family and friends in places where they're having to rebuild, or have bought in places where that's a real consideration.
Okay, what are your hours of operation right now?
We're open Monday through Saturday 9 to 5:30 and Sunday 12 to 5, and the only days of the year we're closed are Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's.
Okay, and for those folks who'd wish to stay home and just place their orders and have them delivered, they can just call you or any of your staff?
The simplest turned out to be email, redwoodbarn@gmail.com. If it's simple, we process it right away and call them back and take payment over the phone. We're doing contactless delivery still everywhere that people want it, still no charge for that. And if they have questions that seem like they're too complicated for email, we promptly call them. So just go ahead and put your phone number on there. We'll call you back and walk through the process.
Okay, it's great. I'm just going to turn it back to me and finish us out. I've been talking to Don Shore. He's the owner of Redwood Barn Nursery. Many years out here, wonderful place. So come on out and support your local businesses. Bye-bye, everyone.